Months, perhaps years to plan and just seconds to execute. But the shock waves of the latest bombings in Jakarta continue to reverberate. Suspicion points to Jemaah Islamiyah, or a splinter group led by the elusive Nordin Top, Southeast Asia's most wanted militant. Stopping the violence will be one of President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono's greatest challenges as he begins a second term. I'm Taimur Nabili, and on this edition of 101 East we ask, can Indonesia ever rid itself of the radicals who become suicide bombers? Like previous assaults, the explosions at luxury hotels in Jakarta's business district deliberately targeted foreigners. But it was inevitable that Indonesia's would help make up the toll of 9 dead and 53 injured. The coordinated blasts shattered the relative peace of the past 4 years. And as Hal Davis reports, some are beginning to question whether Indonesia's policy of reforming radicals is working.
A man wheels a suitcase through a hotel lobby. Unhurriedly, he enters a meeting room and in the eerie silence of security cameras detonates the bomb he's carrying. Two hotels in Jakarta, the Marriott and the Ritz-Carlton, were hit in this coordinated attack. Both suffering suicide bombings that left a total of 9 people, including the 2 bombers, dead. It's all too grimly familiar for the people of Indonesia. The US-owned Marriott Hotel was bombed in August 2003, killing 12 people. That attack was blamed on the radical Muslim group Jemaah Islamiyah. The finger of blame has pointed their way again, but members of JI say the organisation has changed in recent years, and they've denied responsibility.
JI is an organisation with a very clear goal. We don't fight against any enemy who is not targeting Muslims. Indonesia is not a country attacking Muslims, so we don't commit attacks here. We think this is a wrong strategy, but maybe people outside our organisation have more short-term goals.
Security sources say that it's more likely that the latest bombings are the work of an offshoot of JI. Top of their list of suspects is this man, Nordin Mohammed Top.
They attacked Marriott and Ritz-Carlton Hotel, 100% handled and controlled by Nordin M. Top. The bomb blast in Indonesia introduced by Nordin, only by Nordin. That is Nordin.
A Malaysian-born former accountant, Nordin is thought to have been a pivotal figure in the 2002 and 2005 Bali bombings.
There's people dead, there's everything.
He was a key recruiter and financier for JI. But he split with the organisation as it became more moderate, forming his own, more radical, more violent group.
Well, reports have said that he is extremely charismatic. He's very good at getting funding, which is why he was called the money man. But he was also reported to be one of the key recruiters for JI. He's been on the run and he's apparently grown more hardline, especially since that contributed to the split within JI.
The Indonesian police have made frequent attempts to catch Nordin. This early morning raid in 2006 saw 2 of his inner circle killed. But police officials admitted they hoped he'd be there.
During the raid, we found 4 people inside the house, and it turned out that Nordin was not there.
The failure to capture Nordin has raised questions about the competence of the authorities. But for some, it's other government policies that are causing more concern. The government has captured more than 200 militants in recent years, and it's attempted to persuade many of those imprisoned to give up violence. Such efforts to reform prisoners are one of the key planks of Jakarta's anti-terror campaign. But some experts warn that many of the imprisoned radicals are not giving up their beliefs.
We've got a number of individuals, JI members, who are transitioning out of the prison system and back into the society. Some of them, as our report yesterday said, some of them are unrepentant, they are unreformed, they have not taken to the rehabilitation programs of the Indonesian government, and they are intent on continuing this campaign of violence.
That's a worrying development, with the country having suffered a string of attacks since 2002, and one that means, sadly, despite the defiance, that Indonesia could yet see more mourning on its streets.
Well, joining me now to discuss the security situation across Indonesia are Nur Huda Ismail from Jakarta's International Institute for Peacebuilding, Debbie Afianti from the Center for Political Violence and International Studies, and via satellite from Jakarta, presidential spokesman Dino Pati Jalal. Thank you all for being here today. Dino Jalal, let me begin with you, if I might. The police have now issued photo fits of the people they think were responsible. President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono promised, as he has in the past, that strong action will be taken. What can you tell us about what action has been taken so far and what the future plans are?
Well, the priority now is to find out who exactly is behind the bombings. We have a better picture of what happened. We have two suicide bombers. We know where they operated. They operated from one of the rooms in the hotel. We have done some DNA tests and checking their precise identity. So far, we're still in the process of finalizing or checking their precise identities. We thought there was somebody else, but the DNA test proved to be wrong. So now the investigation is focused on analyzing the forensic evidence and trying to identify who did it, how they did it, and who is behind them, and trying to find any linkages to any of the intelligence informations, any of the raids, any of the explosive found recently.
Have you found any such linkages? Because a lot of people, obviously, as we heard in that report, are speculating that Nordin Top is behind this. Is there actually any evidence to suggest that?
Well, he is, of course, the lead suspect, given that the explosives found and the ways of detonation are similar to the ones that he's been involved with. But again, until the police officially announce this to be the case, I'm not going to jump the gun on the police. But other than that, security around the country, of course, is being heightened. And we're taking every measure to ensure that this investigation does lead to a conclusion that would uncover who is behind this, and then we are going to catch the perpetrators. This is not, of course, the first time that a bomb has exploded in Indonesia. In the past, we have been able to do our job in finding who are behind the terrorist attacks.
It is not the first time, but the big question really is it the last time? Because Debbie Afianti, after what's been almost 5 years of peace in Indonesia, and the suggestion that democracy has taken hold and the nation has moved into a new era of its government, how do you view the landscape right now and the possibility that we are back again to that condition where everyone must be vigilant and everyone must be afraid?
I think if we see the trend in the past 4 years since the last bombing in 2005, Indonesia is relatively stable in terms of politics and security conditions, but we can see that also some extreme groups are still moving underground, and also we can see from their websites, they also send images, narratives that can fuel the hatred of the public and expose the public to the radical views indirectly, so that I can say that terrorism and radicalism is still a threat, a latent threat for Indonesia.
The question is, though, as a threat, is it a nationwide threat? Is it a coordinated mass movement? Or is it just the work of individuals who have the technique and the desire to create havoc?
I think based on my assessment by talking to former released jihadis and also jihadis who is inside the prisons, it is action of individuals within the JI movement. So, because as we might know, based on the report that I wrote also, the JI as an organization is completely collapsed. And there is no such an organization, there is no coordination between the leaders and also at membership. So, Top, who opted more violence, created his own small cells and then encouraged younger recruits to continue to wage actual jihad, what they say, for violent jihad, because for the youngster they need to have such concrete jihad. They already started to look at the what you call it, the older generation of JI as a NATO, no action, talk only. They're only interested in talking, getting flabbier. They don't really do actual jihad, you know.
That may be the situation with regards to these individuals. Debbie, let me ask you for your perspective. JI in itself, in the old form, may not be quite what it was, but does that necessarily mean that there is no significant body of radicals who are organized in Indonesia anymore?
Today, I believe that JI is more than just organization. It is more ism. It is more ideology. So the splinter groups, or maybe the like-minded groups that have certain affiliation to JI, can do any violent attacks or violent actions. But what we are worrying right now is how they can easily coordinate while they have no hierarchical organization, but they can still coordinate to each other. Maybe one cell has capabilities in human resources, the other cell has capabilities in tactics and strategies, the others are financial resources, or the other one is leadership. So how can the government, or maybe the state, and also the public, and maybe the civil organizations anticipate these cells or groups to coordinate each other to launch more severe attacks in the future?
Good questions, and we'll consider those in just a couple of minutes. We're going to take a short break.
All right.
And when we come back, we'll continue the discussion about the situation in Indonesia in the wake of the latest bombing attacks. Join us again in a couple of minutes.